This is going to be a really practical course. So I want you to understand how to set up your environment and what you need to have installed on your machine to get the most value out of the exercises. This is a course on Playwright with Java. So I'm going to assume that you have a working knowledge of the Java programming language. If you don't, then have a look at the text underneath the video, and there are some courses you can follow to bring yourself up to speed. We also will be using Maven in this course as our project build management tool. You could also use Gradle if you want, but if you want to follow along with the exercises, Maven is a tool we'll be using, so I'll walk you through how to make sure you have that set up correctly. And finally, we're going to need an IDE, a development environment. Now, there are plenty to choose from. You can use Eclipse, you can use Visual Code Studio, but my preferred tool for Java work, by far the most powerful development environment that I work with, is IntelliJ. So we're going to be using IntelliJ. You can use the Community Edition, which is free. I'll just show you how to install that if you've not already done so. As we said, this is a Playwright with Java course, so you're obviously going to need Java. Now, Playwright requires Java 8 or higher. We are going to be using a much more recent version of Java. We are going to be showing you some of the features in Java to make your test automation a little bit smoother and more efficient. So you'll need at least Java 17, and I'll be using Java 21 or 22, something a little bit more recent. If you need to install that, you can go to the Oracle website that you can see here on the page, and there's a link in the resources in the text for this video, and you can go ahead and download the installer. Installing Java is a relatively straightforward process. You just click through the installer, but there is one thing you're going to need to do to make sure that Java works with all of the tools we're going to be using. Again, if you've already installed Java, you may have already done this. But if not, you're going to need to make sure that the Java home variable is configured correctly. Now, on Windows, you can do this by opening up the system properties and clicking on the environment variables, like we can see here. Inside the environment variables, you're going to create a new variable, and the new variable should be called Java Home, as we can see here. And you're going to need to configure Java Home with the path to your installer or to your Java version on your local machine. And when you've done that, you can open a console window and run Java-version, and you should see something like this, which shows what version of Java you have installed. Next, you need to make sure you have Maven installed. Now, you'll want to use a reasonably recent version of Maven just so that we can support the latest plugin versions. It makes the build a little bit more smooth. I'm going to be using version 3.9.9, which is the most recent version at the time I'm recording this video. So if you've not installed that version, or if you want to update your version, then what you need to do is go ahead to the Maven website and download the binary file, like you can see here. And then you need to unzip that binary file onto your local drive. So it doesn't matter too much where it is. Here it's in Windows Program Files, Maven, the Apache Maven, whatever the version is. And when you've unzipped that binary version, you need to go and create an environment variable, just like you created the Java home variable, except this time the environment variable is called Maven Home, and you're going to point that to whatever version you have installed on your machine. And then the last thing with Maven to get it to work is to add Maven to the system path. So when you install Java, that happens automatically, but not so with Maven. Maven, you need to do it by hand. So you'll need to go into your system variables or your local environment variables if you're on a corporate machine and you've got more limited access, and click on the path. Make sure that you add the percentage Maven home \bin to your path variable so that we can find Maven on the command line. And once you've done that, then you can go into your console, open up your console window and run Maven-version, and it will show you, as we can see here, the version of Maven you're running and also the Java version that it's finding using Java Home, so that you can make sure that everything is lined up correct. The last thing you're going to need is an IDE. Now, if you really like your IDE, if you're using Eclipse or Visual Code Studio, you're really happy with that for Java, go ahead and use that. You can follow along the code examples. It will be very similar. But if you want to try IntelliJ, or if you're using IntelliJ, then that is my recommended choice. If you need to install IntelliJ, just go ahead to the JetBrains site. Again, there's a link in the resources below, and you can download the Community Edition, which is free, and that will be perfect for what we are working with. So once you've got Java, Maven, and your IDE installed and ready to go, you can jump in and see how we actually write our first Playwright script, which is exactly what we're going to be doing in the next video.